What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? So in this video, I'm going to show you or give you some tips on how you can speed up Unreal Engine 4 when working with MetaHumans. MetaHumans have taken over the internet, and I'm getting a lot of questions like, hey man, I have an Intel integrated graphics card laptop and I can't work with MetaHumans. Well, I'm hoping that by watching this video and do some of these tips and tricks, you're going to be able to work on that short film you want to work on. So let's go ahead, and from the top, and some of this stuff are really simple, but I want to go ahead and share it with you guys anyway, because I know some of you all need help. All right, and just a disclaimer, this is the stuff that I do, all right? Stuff that works for me, okay? So that being said, first things first is every time you update an NVIDIA driver, and if you're a gamer, you know this. Every time you update your NVIDIA driver, you're going to have to change the power management. So if I go to the bottom right, I'm going to go to the control panel right here. And by default, whenever you install a new driver, if you go to Manage 3D Settings, you scroll down, the power management mode right here is in normal. Now, for me, speaking for myself, I choose Prefer Maximum Performance every time, okay? So if you break your computer, don't blame it on me. Just be careful. But I always set this at Prefer Maximum Performance every time I update my driver. Now, another thing is, a lot of people are crashing whenever they're opening Unreal Engine 4 maps. And I know I've made a video about this already, but just if you haven't seen it, go to the project file of your Unreal Engine 4 project. Okay, so for me, it's going to be Unreal Engine project, and if I go to speed, which is the project we have on, if you go to the config file, now, depending on the type of template or project you opened, you might see this. If you go to default engine, right here, you're going to see this thing called Reflection Capture Resolution. Now, if you pick the cinematic template, this is going to be defaulted at 2048. Now, your graphics card might not be able to take that 2048, all right? So by reducing this to 512 or 256 and save it and then reopen your project, see if you can get that to work. Whenever you're getting that out of memory error, check this and see if this is set to 2048. Now, if you opened a game template or something like that, you shouldn't have to worry about this, but the cinematic template, I know for sure, has this by default at 2048. So, okay, so let's go to the actual Unreal Engine 4 project, and I already have a MetaHuman set up here. So I'm going to drag and drop her in the scene. And now, if you're new with the MetaHumans, if you click on the BP, the blueprint, and you look in this details panel right here, if you go scroll all the way down, there's an LOD sync button, or clickable thing. Now, you can change this depending on the speed of your computer, okay? And to show this a little bit better, I know I always do this, but for you new guys out there, if you go to this right here, this is going to show you the coloration of the detail for the MetaHuman. If I scroll really far away, you're going to see that it turns pink. If I go get closer to it, you're going to see that it's going to turn this color. This is the highest quality the MetaHuman can have, and that's LOD 0, or line of detail 0. So if we go to lit, you're going to see that, wow, that looks amazing. So I want you to think about this as the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer right here, this quality, right? But as we zoom out, right there, that's the actual gameplay. You know what I'm saying? So that's LOD. But depending on your hardware, you should be able to force this by using the LOD sync. Okay? So if I go get close right here and I choose maybe 7 or 6, you know, you can choose this. And if I want the maximum setting, I can choose this to 0. Okay, and if I do that same trick again, you're going to see that I'm going to 0 out the entire way. So that's going to speed up your computers. And I can guarantee you, if you play around with the LOD sync right here, you're going to be able to use the MetaHuman. So I think it's by 8 by default. Additionally, you can force it right here. You see, if it's -1, it will automatically switch. So if we go back again, it's going to switch again. But you know what? What if, say, you know, your computer can only take a 4. All right, let's go with a 4. And that's going to go with a 4. So the LOD sync, you got to use this. It's a beautiful thing that they put it on there. And that's because the MetaHumans are made for PC all the way down to mobile. That should speed up your process as far as working with MetaHuman, especially when you're trying to animate things and your computer is just dying or burning up. Reduce that LOD, and then whenever before you export your movie, change it to LOD 0 to get that, maximum quality out of it. Next tip we're going to have is the scalability settings. If you go right here in the settings up here, you're going to see engine scalability settings. By moving this to low, medium, high, epic, cinematic, you're also going to get some FPS back. All right? So it's a really good idea to mess around with this here. If you've played video games the past decade, some of the settings you're familiar with here. Anti-aliasing, shadows, textures, foliage. A couple of suspects here. Foliage takes a lot. Post-processing takes a lot. So mess around with that setting as well if you're having problems working with MetaHumans or working in Unreal Engine 4, period. Change the scalability, and again, once you're ready to render, crank it all up. I mean, you can do all that stuff in post-processing as well with console variables, but for the simplicity of this tutorial, engine scalability settings is your friend. Next tip is going to be DLSS. If you have a graphics card that supports DLSS, get it. You go to the marketplace, NVIDIA DLSS. I can't stress this enough, guys. This is amazing in the viewport when you're working with MetaHuman. I'm going to put the link in the description because I already made a tutorial on how to install this thing. This is free from NVIDIA if you have an NVIDIA enabled card. And I can guarantee you, so you can see right here, the boost is like FPS right here. The boost is pretty nice. Similar in Unreal Engine 4, you get some nice FPS boost. So download that. The next thing we're going to look at is, let me go ahead and change this to lit. The next thing I'm going to talk about is post-processing. Now, depending on the map that you downloaded somewhere, or if you created your own map, you're going to see post-processing. So if I go right here, this is a blank map. So there's no post-processing. If you downloaded a map, 9 out of 10, they're going to have some type of post-processing. Now, this is it right here, the post-process volume. And if you're struggling, again, turn off the post-processing while you're working. When you're animating stuff, retargeting stuff, working with cameras, just turn it off. Scroll all the way down, and you're going to see the blend weight right here. Turn that to 0, and it's going to turn off the post-processing. Additionally, in the post-processing, there is also a screen percentage right here. If I type in screen, sometimes this can be cranked to 120, 150, 200. Just check it. If it's high, uncheck it. But if you turn off the post-processing, that's the same thing. That's going to turn off that screen percentage there. All right. Additionally, if you go to the viewport right here, you're going to see screen percentage right here. You can turn it down here as well for your viewport, which is kind of nice if you need that FPS. All right. See that? Look at my FPS. It's dropping to 76 as I move in, but as I move out, it's going to 120. That's because the LOD is changing. The next thing we're going to take a look at is pretty important, especially when you're doing live link stuff. Whenever you're capturing, say, from like Faceware or iClone, and you're trying to stream something into Unreal, check this. Go to your editor settings. So go to edit, editor preferences, and type in CPU. You see this right here? Use less CPU when in background. By default, that thing is checked off. Uncheck that mofo, because you don't want Unreal Engine to stop taking resources just because you're Alt-Tab. You know, just because you go to Faceware, you don't want Unreal to lose that pull. You want Unreal to keep pulling even though it's just in the background. So uncheck that, and that should help you whenever you're doing live link from Faceware or live link somewhere, feeding into Unreal where you have to Alt-Tab out of your Unreal Engine 4. Okay? And then the last tip, well, second to last tip I'm going to give you, this is pretty much my favorite. And this is how I work 90% of the time. If you're having issues with the MetaHumans, and I'll show you. All right, so I'm like pretty close up there. Drop to like 60, 70. Work in Unlit. Just like that. I'll get 120 FPS. You know? I know people want to be lit nowadays because that's the cool thing to do, but I work in unlit mode 95% of the time. And that's just because I don't want to sacrifice FPS. Whenever I'm just moving cameras around, whenever I'm just animating cameras, you know, moving stuff around in the scene, I will switch to unlit. I would turn everything off and just work in unlit. And look at this. I can fly around in there. Even if I'm like all up in there, the FPS doesn't change because it's unlit. And as soon as I turn it on, 50 frames per second. All right. So you're going to have to find ways to work in Unreal Engine 4. Okay. There you go. Look at that. 120. So as far as speeding up Unreal Engine 4, that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you. But the last thing that's going to speed up your process is doing this. Go to this website. Type in RTX 3090. And this is going to solve all your problem. This card right here. You see this gray button? Click that. All right? Click that for like a week straight. And if you need somebody else to click it for you, swap out. You know? Just like if you're trying to level in a game. Swap out with different people. Click this for like a month or 2 or 3 months. And you're going to unlock this hidden rare graphics card that has 24 gigabytes of VRAM. All right, guys? I hope you all learned something valuable today. And if you guys want to see more videos, just hit that like and subscribe button. We're almost at 30,000. My goal is 30,000 subscribers in 2021. So, I mean, we got a couple months, but you know, if you want me to keep making these videos, hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys later. So you want to make a movie in Unreal Engine 4 using the new MetaHuman characters, but don't know how to do it? Well, I got the video just for you.